Shalom, brothers and sisters. Giving honor and praise to the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular presentation will be for the advertisement of the book that was released last weekend. The book, brothers and sisters, that's the updated book. Deuteronomy 28:15 to 68, the condition of the blacks, has been updated to the name Deuteronomy 28:15 to 68, history untold to the masses. Brothers and sisters, this particular book is available on lulu.com, lulu.com. It's not available, brothers and sisters, on Amazon. All right? The contact information, next slide. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, and the Maker of heaven and earth. The book here is what is available on lulu.com. The book is not available on Amazon. The cover was made by Naphtali Dan, a brother I know as a good friend. The purpose of the book is to help set suppressed truth back in the earth. The author can be contacted at 908-587-4841. Now, when I say the suppressed truth, that is to say, the suppressed truth of our people, the suppressed truth of the black man being put back into the earth. Brothers and sisters, in the book of Daniel in the Bible, it says that truth was cast to the ground when the Greeks came to power. So since the era of the Greeks, we find all kinds of other understandings and ideologies that done came into play. However, once it comes down, brothers and sisters, to the children of Israel, all right, this is what we want to talk about us being those people of the scriptures. And what you're looking at there on the left-hand side is the cover of the book. All right. Next slide, please. The genre. In setting suppressed truth back in the earth, it was a tedious process of going through Deuteronomy 28 and seeing who were the people it was referring to. The reason for such was due to the following scriptures. Now, I want to state before we continue, brothers and sisters and elders included, that the situation of Deuteronomy 28, we're talking about from verses 15 to 68, is in regards to the curses that came upon the Israelites and how we are able to show through what is referred to as Black history that we are those people. And that is the genre, and that is the actual point of the book itself, with a solution to our detriment, with the antidote to the problems of our people. Because it's one thing to speak about the situations that we know that we have gone through and continue to go through, but it's another situation, brothers and sisters, when we're able to sit there and show where the solution lies. Next slide. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and feel with longing for them all the day, and there shall be naught in the power of your hand. This shows that there are different people. Not all people are the same. Your sons and your daughters shall be given to another people. Are we able to see an example of such? Remember, it says, your sons and your daughters shall be given unto another people, and your eyes shall look and fare with longing for them all the day, and there shall be naught in the power of your hand. Let's see if we can show an example of what we're talking about. Next slide. An example in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 41. Here we see an example of when a parent was shown, if the movie is watched, of her son going into captivity. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 41. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but they shall not be thine, but they shall go into captivity. Now, what you're looking at on the right-hand side is from the movie Boys in the Hood, where the guy known as Doughboy was being arrested by the man, if you will. And if you watch the movie, his mother saw and could do nothing within a powerful hand, and she just went right back up in there in the house. You understand? This is an example of what we're talking about, brothers and sisters. So let's go on, if we will, to the next slide. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. They, the curses, shall be upon you, Israel, and upon your seed for a sign and for a wonder. Now, when we read in Deuteronomy 28, verse 46, where it says forever, the Hebrew says the word olam or leolam. Okay? And what that means literally is an undisplaced length of time. So if I were to say, for instance, I've been listening to music forever, it doesn't mean that I, Yeshaya, been living forever and listening to music. It means forever, in other words, an undisclosed displaced set of time. So that's something we want to point out in that particular regard. Now, throughout the Bible, we are told to look at signs. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 46 speaks about the signs upon thy seed. The curses were a sign to see who are the true house of Israel. And this is by the process of elimination and deduction and how we're able to come up with the understanding of our people being the people of the book. Next slide. Amos chapter 7, verse 17 in Janet. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, thy wife shall be a harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou thyself shalt die in an unclean land, and Israel shall surely be led away captive out of his land. Now, looking at the left-hand side of this, when it says Janet, all right, for those who are wondering, that's not Janet Jackson. That is Janet Jackme. No disrespect intended, though not to be sugarcoating a whore. She's a porn star. So what I did was, knowing what these prophecies are talking about, when it says thy wife shall be a harlot in the city, do you know that many of the sisters that into pornography, such as Pinky and other ones, actually have husbands? Do you know that there are black women that actually sit there and offer sexual services on Craigslist? Now, of course, somebody may say, well, other women do too. But those other women are not the descendants of those that were scattered out of their land. See, that's something we need to talk about, because it says these curses shall be upon thy seed as a sign. So that's why we want to point that out for edification purposes. All right. So, brothers and sisters, when it says thy wife shall be a harlot in the city, that's exactly what has going on within our people. You understand what I'm saying? When you sit there, be it the commercial aspect of America, be it the diplomatic aspect of America, be it the drug fiend aspect of America, many of our sisters have sold out to, quote, that man. You understand? So this is something we want to point out, brothers and sisters, for edification purposes. All right? Next slide. Amos chapter 7, verse 17. And Carlina Lyles of Washington. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, thy wife shall be a harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou thyself shalt die in an unclean land, and Israel shall surely be led away captive out of this land. And if you see the backdrop, it says this is what we're talking about. Police shoot and killed a mother of 4 inside her apartment in the presence of her young children after she called law enforcement to report a burglary. The death of 30-year-old Carlina Lyles, who police say was carrying a knife, has sparked outrage across the country, with critics decrying the shooting as another example of U.S. law enforcement using excessive force against Black Americans. These curses shall be upon thee and upon thy seed as a sign. Brothers and sisters, the lady called the police to report a burglary, and she winds up being the one getting put to death. So when we read about your sons and your daughters shall fall by the sword, it's not too hard to understand what we're talking about. When we read about your sons and your daughters going into captivity and your eyes looking filled with longing for them all the day, it's not too hard to understand what we're talking about. This is not something like Christian apologists try to say, oh, Black people in America want to say they're the children of Israel because there's a Black power movement. No, we are saying we are the descendants of those who worship Baal, Molech, Asherah, and told the Most High can go somewhere else. So when we say we are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that's not always a badge of honor because those were the people who disobeyed the Most High. So, Christian apologists, it is not in the aspect of Black Power movement. It's the fact that we're stating our decrepit state as a people is because we did not keep the commandments of the Most High. So therefore, one will have to understand the teaching, the ideology that comes from the Israelites before one who doesn't even claim to be an Israelite attempts to sit there and speak upon such. You understand? So the Christian apologists who have Black guys on their videos who are upset with Israelite camps, that's just going to show you they pick who they want to pick. Not to be disrespectful, the previous book been out since 2016. I took that book out of print because of the publishing matters with that particular publishing company, but it's back online now, as you can see here. All right. Why didn't they call certain Israelite brothers to their channel? Why did not the Christian apologists say this is a free forum for any Israelite to want to come and speak your mind? No, no disrespect intended. You picked Israelites who did not get into the Hebrew language. You picked Israelites who did not sit there and study history. You picked Israelites who did not sit there and quote store themselves by studying. How the saying goes, study to show yourself approved. They did not do that. They studied the Israelites to know who to pick, but they did not pick Israelites who studied. So these are things we want to point out for edification purposes. So once again, this particular sister here, somebody's child, though she was grown, as it says, thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword. The sword is guns, the sword is drugs, the sword is poverty, the sword is destitution, and so forth and so on. You understand? Next slide. Thank you. Amos 7:17 in the West Bank. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, thy wife shall be a harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou shalt die in an unclean land, and Israel shall surely be led away captive out of his land. So we want to use Amos to show that line upon line and precept upon precept who the book is talking about. It says your land shall be divided by line. Look at that right there from the 1960s when the true house of Israel was being sent over to Vietnam and so forth and so on. You see what's going on there inside the Holy Land? They divided it by line. Those are the strangers that inhabited the land after the true Israelites were out. You understand? Now, as pointed out in the book, Deuteronomy 28, verses 15 to 68, History Untold to the Masses. The brothers who are into Kemetic science, so-called Egyptology, if you will, you don't have no place to talk about Deuteronomy 28. That's not your portion to sit there and try to talk about. If you believe, brothers and sisters, that we Black people are the autonomous people of North America and that the Atlantic slave trade was a myth, you're not qualified to speak about Deuteronomy 28. This is the point I'm emphasizing in this particular regard. If you claim Christianity or Kemetic science or Islam or Moorish science or the autonomous people of North America, you do not have the right to talk about the history of the children of Israel. The Israelites, or those who are even claiming to be the Israelites, let those brothers and sisters speak about what they're saying. Because if you don't serve or acknowledge the one who Deuteronomy 28, verse 68 is talking about, then how can you understand what the God Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh Yah is talking about in his book? If you do not claim to even be a servant of the God of Israel. You understand? So this is what we want to point out for edification purposes. So if somebody were to try to break down the Metuneta, I don't worship Sekhmet or Heru. I don't have pictures of men or Menu with an erection inside of my house. So when the Kemetic brothers expound upon the mental netta, I am not one to go back and forth and debate with them because I don't understand your concept, your ideology, and your philosophy. You understand? When you're claiming Christianity, a religion that was made legal by a criminal named Constantine, I do not understand your philosophy and your ideology. When you are claiming the doctrine and the teaching of al-Islam and so forth and so on, knowing good and well the history of that particular teaching, knowing good and well the history of that particular philosophy and how much bloodshed was shed within that, I don't understand that particular ideology and philosophy. Let those who claim to be a particular group or people, tribe, clan, culture, nation, let him or her speak his or her piece. You understand? Why do I emphasize that? Because in the book of Psalms, not that anybody is perfect, Psalm 50, it says, what have the wicked to declare my statutes? So, not getting sidetracked, when you have a person who speaks against the Bible, such as the comedian Eddie Griffith, you were the one who said you slapped your mother and your father. The Bible says, whosoever smiteth his father and mother shall surely be put to death. The Bible, when you put it all together with the Apocrypha, it says wisdom will not enter a soul that's subject to sin. So when the comedian Eddie Griffith is talking about having sex with Michelle Obama, who's a married woman, Paul, Solomon said the man that will commit adultery lacks understanding. So the wisdom and the understanding of Noah's Ark is not going to come to a man who wants to sleep with another man's wife. You understand? The nation of Israel has what they call capital punishments. And though we in the land of our exile and we can't do it, the Most High still gets it done. You understand? So this is why we, like it says in the book of Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 11 about the dry bones, we are dead. When it says breathe upon these slain, that's us. We're the slain ones. We're the ones who went against the Most High. And so this is why the nations, knowing our scriptures, want to sit there and make sure we don't get back claiming who we are as the nation of Israel and return it back to the Most High. Why do you think of every philosophy that's out there that they try to sit there and say, well, the Israelites are part of a terror group? That kind of thing. How come these other doctrines, these other schools of thought online that are, quote, against the Hebrews, against the Israelites, how come they not on the terror list? What is so terrifying about the Israelites that they have the Israelites as a terror list, on the terror list? It's because we're teaching, one, we fell, two, we need to rise, three, for us to rise, we got to keep the commandments of the Most High, four, in order to keep the commandments of the Most High, we got to love our neighbor as ourselves. Once our people start doing that, this society begins to plummet and fall. Brothers and sisters, our wickedness is their survival. Next slide. Amos 7:17 and Martin Luther King. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, thy wife shall be a harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou thyself shalt die in the unclean land, and Israel shall surely be led away captive out of his land. And Israel shall die in an unclean land. Martin Luther King, may he rest in peace, died in Tennessee. Tennessee was part of the place that Andrew Jackson was part of, what they called the Trail of Tears. You know how many natives' blood is shed over there? That land is unclean. You know how many of our people died in hospitals? All of that is unclean. Died in the hood, the projects, all of that is unclean. Israel shall die in an unclean land. This land here is unclean. We are dying in this land. As it says in Leviticus 26, you're pining away in your iniquities in your enemy's land. So Israel, we can't talk about North America is truly the land of Israel and Jerusalem is in Peru. You can't teach that because it says Israel will be led away out of his land. So wherever Israel was taken to, Israel was not taken to their land from their land. You understand? This is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Next slide. Amos 7:17 in the Greeks and Romans. Over 60 years after the fall of the temple in 70 AD, the Emperor Hadrian of Rome forbade the Israelites to go in the land of Israel. Since the era of Ptolemy and later with Vespasian, one being a Greek, the other being a Roman, there were Israelites shipped to parts of northern African and southern Europe. We were shipped by the Greeks and the Romans to places in North Africa as well as in Southern Europe. This history is documented in this book that we are advertising. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, thy wife shall be a harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by 9, and thou shalt die in an unclean land, and Israel shall surely be led away captive out of his land. The defense rests. The genre of the book. The goal and genre of this book is to show how the history from the rise of the Assyrian Empire, taking the Israelites into captivity, connects with the black people who were and are descendants of the Atlantic slave trade. The book covers the matter of Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, and addresses the Christian apologists who want to deny the Israelites are still in existence. Giving honor and praise unto the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. Brothers and sisters, let's go back so we can begin to see the book and close out. This is the book cover. It is available on lulu.com. It's not available on Amazon. So you go to lulu.com and go and type in Deuteronomy 28, History Untold to the Masses, and you will see it come up and you can purchase from there. Brothers and sisters, I, the author, can be contacted by text or telephone call, 908-587-4841. Giving honor and praise to the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. Shalom.